All my life, I've always tried to, when I started thinking rationally, what I've tried to do, it doesn't go. When I connect with my heart, it's really about love and spreading and seeing this love manifested in different ways is what I want to achieve.
I'm accustomed to talking with artists about their creative process. How would you define yours?
I am a creative director at Google, and I work in a department that is all about helping brands tell their stories to their audiences in this crazy digital world and offer the Google tools and platforms like YouTube, like Android, like apps. Google Maps, so help them use those Google tools as devices to tell, for brands to tell their narratives and connect with the audiences in a more meaningful way. Because, of course, you have already, I'm sure whoever is listening to us right now have already skipped a commercial, has already ignored a banner online. So we know that advertising cannot be interrupting anymore. So my job is really about creating advertising that people want to have in their lives. So for that, you really need to be either useful or educational or really fun. And so my creative process at Google, I think it has a few phases. So it starts from a very non-rational place where I listen to the briefing, I listen to what kind of message I need to deliver for which audience, for which purposes. And then I start the process from a mess, the mess that is in my mind, the mess of I just let I react to the briefing and I start thinking of stories of people that could connect to that story. And then I start looking randomly at images on Google of like what are images related to that theme. Then I go on YouTube and I look at videos related to that theme. And I look at, here there's something really interesting. Google has access to data about people that give you really unique insights. So it's not like we don't invade any privacy. It's just that when people start searching a lot for something, no one knows what people are really searching for. And we know we don't expose anyone's data, but we know what people are struggling with, what are the questions that are like most hot and like most trending, and we can play with this data as insights to tell stories. It's almost like we have a shortcut to what is on people's minds and hearts, so we can come up with a message that really resonates and surprise them. I'm like, oh my God, how do they know? I can give you like a very, very simple example. So, for example, when I was working on a campaign for Converse, the sneakers, their target audience is pretty much the millennials and the teenagers. And what we found out is that one of the things that they most search on Google is how to be cool. Poor guys. So, like, they really want to know how to be cool, but they will never ask his parents how to be cool. They will never ask their brothers how to be cool. So this is stuff that Google is kind of a therapist. So we really listen to people's feelings and we know what's going on. And then we come up with messages that address that in a lighthearted way or in whatever way that makes sense for the brand. So the first process is like just collecting references on YouTube, songs that relate to it, images. I look at books. I look at old advertising that was done related to this same theme. And then I start putting together naturally some creative territories or routes start taking shape. And when I start exploring these creative routes, then I do a check with the briefing. Like I want to see what kind of stories would better address the business challenges or the target behavior. So I start getting a little more rational. And then there's a lot of experimentation. What if this idea was that? What if we did that? And it's really interesting because here...
Within your team or outside?
It starts with my team. I actually, like my creative process, I really need a moment for myself. It's interesting because there are people and creative directors who start the process, okay, this is the briefing, let's start brainstorming together. I hate that. I can't do that. I can't integrate my thoughts. I need to have a moment to literally brainstorm myself, to download everything that I feel about that briefing and put it down and have my first thoughts for people to react to. So what I do is I encourage my team. I have art directors, I have designers, writers, producers, creative technologists, strategists, and I consider all of them creative people. They absolutely are. And so some great ideas many times don't come from a writer or from a creative director. They really come from the technology perspective or from a strategist and even from the business person involved. So I first give the briefing to these people. I make sure to give as much information as we can around it. I get my strategist to collect data to inspire the creatives. And then I let people download, like, come with your first thoughts. Come here, like, put it down, try to structure, and then I do it myself. And then we sit down together, and it's actually, there's something fun to be talked about, the creative process in the digital world. It used to be that you put your thought starters in a paper, and then or on a document, on a computer, and then you go in a room, and then you start talking about, I thought about that, what if we do this on top of that? And then one adds to the other, and then I become kind of the conductor, saying this idea makes sense, this idea doesn't make sense, this idea is cool but not for the audience, this idea is great but doesn't solve the business challenge, or this idea is not perfect but there's a nugget here that if we add some element, twist, and then becomes interesting. So I play the conductor, really. And like I'm
You're a leader, and it's about sharing process.
Shared process, and it's so challenging because it's really about, if you think of an orchestra, it's like, for me, each person is an instrument, and each of them has a very unique and interesting sound. And if you think that, like, especially here at Google, it's so diverse. You have an Indian guy with his Indian references, with a Brazilian person, with a German. So, like, around the table, you have people not only with different backgrounds in terms of expertise, but also cultural backgrounds. So people are in kind of different pages, and it's on me as a creative director to be the conductor, to make sure that that sound doesn't become a noise, and on the opposite, becomes additive to make a beautiful harmonic symphony. And I can sense when some idea is like, is going off track, or I can sense like that, wow, there's a beautiful note there that we should incorporate at some point. And it's really challenging, and it's an art, I would say, to be able to collect different input from different people with different expertise, with different cultural backgrounds, and make sense of that in light of what the briefing is trying to achieve. And here at Google, this culture of shared creative process, co-creation, collaboration is so intense. And for me, who I do come from not an old school advertising, but like I started working with advertising when there was no internet, and I was used to like have my creative process very protected and kind of safe and non-disruptive, and the brainstorm would be very framed. And now it's like your thoughts are exposed. Because when you are in the process of creating an idea, you're kind of naked and nothing, like you feel like you're naked. It's like every idea is vulnerable. So it used to be that I would not expose any idea that I had while it was naked or while it was vulnerable. I would like make it bulletproof to put it in front of a group. And here at Google, there's no such thing. You start thinking, people will start commenting on it like very fast. And it's on you to like know what to absorb from that. But it's, in a way, it's this creative process at Google is more challenging because they are seeing you naked. But at the same time, it really helps you go to deeper places and explore different routes that you wouldn't otherwise, because these tools are allowing you to be in touch with people that would not be on your brainstorm. So it's just interesting how the creative process at Google is different from everywhere else I've been working on.
You're talking about vulnerability. How do you get unstuck creatively?
That's it happens kind of often. I literally go out physically. You need to change the energy. So for me, it's all about energy. 2 things I do. One is get out of that space, go take a walk, go look at books, just let go for a little bit, and slowly you're going to get back on track. Your brain will start doing synapses again. But I do have the need of going out physically. The second thing I do, which is actually the thing that I do the most, is to reach out to get help. Reach out to people that I trust, my partners in crime creatively.
How do you ask?
Literally, I say, help me, I'm stuck with an idea here. I don't know where to take it. Or I got lost in my train of thoughts. Can you help me bring some light? And especially, I actually like to ask help to strategists more than to creatives like me. Because sometimes what I'm stuck on is not necessarily an execution. Sometimes the question I'm answering is wrong. Sometimes what's going on is not that the answer is wrong, is that the question might be wrong. And then the strategist is really the person who is asking the questions. So I challenge or ask help and say, look, is there a different way we could go about it? Because this route that you put me here, so we're going to approach in that way, and the creative solution is that. Maybe the way that you're telling me to go, it's not a promising way, it's not juicy creatively. So we might want to explore a different question for me to answer. So there's actually times where I go back even further and I question the client. Is this the right problem to solve? Because it all starts with, like, what's the problem we have to solve? What are the questions we have to answer? And how do we answer them? These are really the 3 steps of the process. So there are different things that get on a way of a brand to be successful. And they try to solve everything with advertising. And not always advertising is the answer. Not always just putting a TV spot on the Super Bowl and paying $5 million to be for 30 seconds on Super Bowl might not necessarily solve your problem. So we also take a deeper, more strategic look at these brands, and you have to be creative on, like, how you react to what they say they need. So many times they come saying, I need that, blah, 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 blah. And we say, well, you want that, but what you really need is another thing.
Basically, you try to target the user's attention. It's about attention online. How would you define your ethical boundaries?
Yeah, here, like at Google, they take privacy extremely seriously. They do. And in my work specifically, it's kind of easier to deal with that because we come up with ideas that people choose to engage with. I don't shove it in their face. But I do think it's a habit thing. It's a change of mindset. I think that people will get more used to, and will expect more and more anticipation from machines and solutions from machines. So I think it's going to become a little more natural. I don't know if it's good or bad. I think this is what people expect, and Google is reacting to what they know people expect. People expect not only immediate solution, but also anticipation. I have a nice story here to tell. So when the search started, remember, you start typing on the search. Then Sergey and Larry, the founders of Google, said that it used to be all about how fast Google can reply to your answer, right? So if I want to say how to cook a pie, and Google was working, like engineers working to shave milliseconds in the code for you to get this answer faster. That was like, the faster you would get the answer, the better would be the service. Don't you appreciate that when you start, when you ask a question, in 1 second you have like tons of results? So it used to be that being fast was the great service. And then one day, Larry and Sergey think about what can be better than fast? What can be better than immediate? And we need to be better than fast, better than immediate. Better than that is to be anticipatory. And that's where it comes the autocomplete thing that you get down there. So when you start like, how to do, then it's a draw, and it gives you a lot of suggestions that you can pick from, and it's going to make your question faster and your result faster. And people love the autocomplete because it's really like not only try to guess what you're thinking, but also shows you other things that you could be potentially asking. So it's It has its both sides, and it's really a challenge to make sure that digital plays a role in your life that is really just about utility and doesn't take away from your human interactions.
That's the last stage of the interview. I'm gonna leave the room. Please keep the microphone and add whatever you want to the interview.
Okay. Okay, so I started the interview talking about how I come from the heart, and I think that we were starting to talk about how the creative expression is absolutely crucial for the human existence, at least mine and yours. For me, creativity is a reason of being. I cannot separate myself from a creative expression. And the creative ways I go about things in life is what defines me. People always ask me about creativity and feel like they are not, like if they come from a business standpoint, they feel they are not creative. This is such a mistake because creativity is like, it's our blood. Creativity is one of the best gifts we have as human beings, and we should all get in touch with it and embrace it for yourself and for those around you and for the world.